Thank you all so much for coming to our final installment of the Rural Journey Speaker Series this semester. My name is Kester Nucum, and I'll be serving as your moderator today. And before we introduce our amazing guest speakers, I would like to tell you all a little bit about Rural Reimagined. Rural Reimagined and TAB are presenting this speaker series session. Rural Reimagined is the Tennessee Tech's Grand Challenge initiative to transform rural areas through service, research, and entrepreneurship. So essentially, our goal is to get students, faculty, staff, administration, and even community members all around campus and Cookeville and beyond to help serve rural areas, whether it be through research projects, civic engagement, you name it. So essentially, the Rural Reimagined Club, which I'm the president of, aims to build awareness and advocacy for rural areas through providing our students with opportunities to serve rural areas in whatever they're interested in. So this speaker series was established just this year to help share all these amazing rural journeys that people in the community and in our tech campus to essentially show what they have done to help serve rural areas. So today I'm going to be introducing our amazing guest speakers. So we have Mason Hilliard. He is currently an undergraduate admissions counselor with the Office of Admissions, and he also served as the SGA president a few years ago and the student trustee just last year. And also we have Aaron Lay. He is currently our Student Government Association president and currently an agricultural communications major. So thank you so much, Aaron and Mason, for coming on today. So I guess whoever wants to start, my question to the both of you is, what is your rural journey? So I guess Mason, would you, or Aaron?
Yeah. Aaron, if you want to go, you can.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. That's fine. Thank you, Kester, for that kind introduction, and I'm super glad to be with you all today. And my name is Aaron Lay. Again, I am studying agriculture communications, getting a minor in political science. I'm currently the student body president, also a president's ambassador, and serve as an ambassador for the College of Agriculture and Human Ecology. And so coincidentally, me and Mason have kind of ran in and out of the same circles for a while now, and we even kind of get to work together in my role as an ambassador for College of Ag when he's doing tours and things of that nature. And so I'm super glad to be here today. But my rural journey, I guess we could start at birth. Is a good place to start there. I grew up on a 500-acre beef and dairy farm over in Madisonville, Tennessee. It's in Monroe County, just halfway between Knoxville and Chattanooga in the eastern part of the state. So I grew up, my dad milked cows. It was his full-time job. We had a large dairy herd. And then also my grandfather ran a large operation of stockers. It's cattle that primarily were for beef. And so through that, I ultimately was just kind of by default thrown into the rural world and growing up on a farm, and I wouldn't have traded that for anything. Had an older brother as well, and so he was extremely active in the 4-H organization. And in the 4th grade, almost by default, I fell right into that path as well. And so I became a 4-H member. I remember doing speeches and things of that nature, and getting up and learning public speaking, communication skills. And we even did like some bread baking at the fair, and we would go with small groups to the Tennessee Valley Fair, and we would bake bread and things of that nature. And then I ultimately started showing cattle. And so I'd mentioned that my dad milked cows, and so it was always this push that they wanted me to show dairy cattle, and my granddad was pushing on the other side that I would show beef cattle, and they kind of fought against each other there, and I actually landed with actually showing beef cattle for a while, and me and my brother really bonded through that experience. And it's something that turned into more of a business between me and my brother. We grew a large herd, or a moderate-sized herd of registered 4-horn cattle that I showed, and my dad always called it was a 4-H project that had gone out of control. And so we got to travel all across the country. My parents, were really invested into me and my brother, and then my younger sister as well, in into us showing cattle. And so we would travel. One of my fondest memories was going to South Dakota with my mom to pick out one of my show heifers. And so I always tell this story about one of the first times that I showed cattle at the Tennessee Valley Fair, and I was showing this very large heifer one of my first times, and she got spooked by a lot of the lights and the Ferris wheel and stuff there, and I was actually drugged the whole length of the show ring, where she stopped, and I had to dust myself off. I'd been drugged through the mud, and I actually left the show ring the first place ribbon. And so I told everybody that was the time that I was like, you know what, I think I can handle these beasts, and I think I'm going to show cattle for a while. And it took off from there, and I just had a blast showing cattle. Throughout my high school career with 4-H, that's when things also kind of turned towards the FFA organization as well, and so I was really active in both. And in 4-H in particular, we had a county honor club where we all kind of got together, and we did things such as like Ag Literacy Week, which is actually this week. So we would go into schools and we would actually read books about agriculture to students, and kind of they almost prepped us in the 4-H organization to be advocates for rural America and agriculture at a very young age, and ultimately decided to run for a leadership position in the state with the state officer team, and became the state vice president for Tennessee 4-H, and got to travel all across the state, meeting with a lot of the donors and the leaders in agriculture, such as like Farm Bureau and Tennessee Farmers Co-op. And so a lot of those organizations that I was, ran the ropes with my dad when I was younger, I then got to go back to and speak at their annual meetings and network with some of their leaders, and it has really played an instrumental role into who I am today and in my future aspirations. I also got involved with the National Rural Electric Co-ops my junior year of high school. You all may be familiar with Upper Cumberland Electric that services the Upper Cumberland region. And so those rural electric cooperatives were actually formed in the early 1900s to service rural areas to give them electricity when some of these public municipals and utilities were starting. And so the National Rural Electric Co-ops actually sponsor about one student from every high school that they service to go to the Washington Youth Tour in Washington, D.C. And so I was selected as the recipient from my high school. And so that was the first time that I'd been to my nation's capital, and I just completely fell in love with the place. Mason knows he's been up there, and there's people call it the Potomac fever. It pretty much catches you, and you've got to get it out of your system, or you'll end up going back there for a while. And so I ultimately was elected as the national spokesperson for the leadership council that the NRECA puts on, and I remember getting to travel and go back to Washington D.C. multiple times to go to some leadership conferences and really develop my skills in advocating for cooperatives, advocating for the rural sector and the rural America as a whole, and it just really played an instrumental role. And then that was in between my junior to senior year. I was looking at colleges, circling back to my roots in agriculture and showing cattle. I was really interested in going to study for agriculture communications, and I came to the Purple and Gold Showdown that was out at Heidelberg's Pavilion at Tech, and I met Dr. Fennenwald, and he pretty much started my admission process immediately. He started recruiting me, and they really showed that they wanted me at Tech, and I got to tour multiple times, and I just really fell in love with the place. Really thought I saw some really exciting things that the School of Agriculture was doing, and so that's kind of how everything that has intertwined itself has brought me to where I am today. And I hope to graduate with my degree in ag communications, and then maybe play around in legislative or governmental affairs and get that Potomac fever out. Like I've said, spend some time in D.C. would be great before ultimately going to law school. And I would love to come back and practice agricultural or environmental law here in a rural area, or maybe in the Knoxville or Nashville metro area. So that's me.
Thank you, Aaron. That is awesome. And Dr. Fennenwald is great. And I would say Mason actually helped me, start my admissions process to Tech when we went to Boise State. So so now it's turning. That's a perfect segue now. Mason, and you're actually from just the county over from me. That's correct, right?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kester, for having me today, and it's an honor being with you and Jeremy and Aaron and all the guests. I appreciate everyone watching. And so, yeah, I'm Mason Hilliard. I am originally from Greenfield, Tennessee. I was born and raised there. My mother, well, actually, my grandparents were from Greenfield, and so we've been there for generations. My dad's actually from Memphis, and he decided to move into Greenfield when he met my mother, and they got married, and he considers it Mayberry because Memphis is so big and Greenfield's so small. And so Greenfield is about a town, about 2,000 people with one red light. We have a McDonald's, but it took about 4 years for it to build. And so now we have a McDonald's and a Sonic and a Mexican restaurant and Subway. And so it's a very small town, very lovely little town. It taught me a lot. And so like I said, I'm from there. Went to Greenfield School, graduated there in 2015. And so kind of my story, the reason why I got involved and kind of like to meet a lot of people and interact with people and just get to know people is because of my parents and my grandmother. And so when I was little, my mother and father, they both worked long hours. And so my grandmother would take care of me and my sister. She'd get us ready for school, take us to school and pick us up from school. But before I went to school, she kept me, instead of actually going to a babysitter. So I got to spend a lot of time with my grandmother. She taught me so many wonderful, valuable lessons that I will always carry with me. I carry with me until this day. And so, one that she really taught me, and it kind of helped me. Well, it's helped me in many aspects of life, is to be personable and to always treat others with respect. And I remember when I was younger, she taught me, when you're speaking to someone, you make them feel like they're the only person in the world and you pay attention. And so, coming from a rural area has really helped me and really shaped me into the person I am today. Like I said, I graduated from Greenfield in 2015. I did not do that well in high school. I was not like Aaron. I was not that advanced. It took me a little longer to catch up. But my mom and dad always said that I went to school to socialize, and that was very true. I did not go for academics like students should. But I went to Boise State in 2014 and came here to Tennessee Tech and completed that and got to live on campus and got to, see some of the admin and faculty and met a lot of wonderful people here. And then that next year, I, wanted to go to college. I'd always wanted to go to college, but honestly, I really didn't know if I'd be able to go because, like I said, I did not do good in high school. I took the ACT like 6 times, and it was just a struggle. So I finally got the score and my grades, and I got accepted to Tech, and so I was really excited about that, and came up here to Tech, and kind of just hit the ground. Like you said, Kester, we are very close. You're from Henry County, the world's largest fish fry, and I'm from Weakley County. So I've always known where Henry County was, and always went to the fish fry every year. But living about 3.5 to 4 hours away was kind of intimidating, and I really thought about it. If I should move off or I should stay close to home. What should I do? And I really thought about for a second staying close to home because I am so close with my parents and my family. But my parents always encouraged me to do what I thought was best, and to always try different things and to never just settle. And so they encouraged me to move away and come to college here at Tennessee Tech because it's it's an amazing university. And so that I remember it was August 24th, and I was we had my mom's car packed to the rim of stuff and my dad's truck packed. I brought everything but the kitchen sink. It was crazy. So I brought everything that I owned pretty much. And so we were headed to Cookeville, and we were pulling out of my driveway, and I looked at my mom and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And she was like, do what? And I was like, well, I don't know if I can go. I don't know if I want to do this. She was like, well, you're at least going to go for a semester because we've already paid for it. So you can't think that right now. We've already got all this stuff ready, so you're going to go. So I remember the whole ride up there, I was thinking, is this what I should do, or is this what I want to do? And so my mom told me that it's what you've always wanted to do, and she gave me great advice. Is you've got an opportunity to start all over and to make something of yourself and work hard. And so I got here to Tech, and like I said, I didn't really know anyone here. I only knew a few people that I met at Boise State. And I knew that I had to get involved at Tech to, meet people, to interact. And I wanted to get involved. That was one of my main goals in high school, was to come to a university and get involved in some aspect. I really wasn't sure on what aspect I wanted to be involved with, but I knew something, probably student government, and clubs and organizations like that. So I came here, and I interviewed to be a freshman senator, and I got it. And so that was kind of my first start. I was also in SAE fraternity, and so that really helped me as well. Allowing me to meet so many cool guys and other people within Cookeville, as well as other areas in the state. So it really allowed me to become engaged. And then after that, it was just like when you work hard and you try to get involved in the very beginning, it just it's just up from there, I feel like. And I think Aaron can probably vouch for that, is to set that foundation when you first get here and to get involved. And so got here, got involved, worked hard, and met some wonderful, wonderful people here. And that's when I tell students when I go and visit schools that, being involved is good for you as well. Just, you meet other wonderful people, your peers, but you also get to meet a lot of wonderful admin and faculty. And that's what I'm really, really proud about. When I was Student Government Association president, I got to work with the Dean of Students and Jerry Keaton, and Susan Henry and Precious and all of the wonderful people in that office. And they really made an impact on me. They taught me, how to work in an office setting. They taught me deadlines. It just little things like that I don't think I would have learned if I hadn't have been involved, and I wouldn't have, been in student government. And so things like that is what really, really is important. And I think I have probably strayed away from the question that you asked, but being from a rural area, it's taught me how to make personal connections and to get to know people. And I really am thankful that I grew up in a very rural area, that I knew the majority of the people in my town. I knew their people I went to school with. I knew their parents, their grandparents, everything about them. And that's good and bad in some senses, but for the most part, it really taught me that there are people out there that care, and it was a really good place to grow up. But it made me appreciate living there and growing up in a small town once I came to Cookeville, and I met a lot of wonderful people. And so, like I said, my journey, grew up small town, small high school, came here, and worked hard and tried to get involved and tried to meet as many people as I possibly could. And it, I think it worked out. And I got to meet Aaron. I remember when I was an SOA, a student orientation assistant, I remember seeing Aaron at one of the orientation sessions. And this is so weird, and you'll probably think this is weird, Aaron, but I looked and I was like, he's going to be in student government, and he may probably be president one day. I really did call that. I'm not joking. And so I remember talking to him in front of Oakley, and I didn't have any idea who he was or anything about him. And I talked to him about SGA. And so when I was president, he was coming in as a freshman senator. And so, it's good to see people, that are leaders continue that throughout their 4 years, because we need good leaders like Aaron and like you, Kester. And so now that I'm kind of old and dated and I've got a full-time job now, it's nice to see students work hard for Tennessee Tech and to serve, the students in the university in any capacity. And so like I said, I think I've rambled with your question, but that's kind of a little story and a little background about me. So
that's totally okay. Thank you so much, Mason, for sharing your story. And it kind of brings definitely, for those of y'all that don't know, me and Mason are from West Tennessee. And so that's a really long drive. And I know it's probably a really long drive for you, Aaron, since you're all the way in that little corner right near Chattanooga. So, but so I guess this kind of brings me to my next question for the both of y'all. And you're both free to, speak and go back and forth on this, is how has being, and I know, Mason, you've talked a little bit about this, but how has being from a rural area, like your rural background, influenced how like what you got involved in and how you got how you got involved and served, the tech community.
So, being from an area in a rural town, I definitely saw a lot of hard work in a lot of people. My parents were very hardworking. My grandparents were very hardworking. And I'm not saying this is not in other areas, but definitely in rural areas. And so I knew what hard work was. I knew what hard work consists, what it took to be a hard worker. And so when I got here, I knew that like I said, I had to hit the ground running. I really could not sit back and, wait a year or two to get involved. And so small town, like I said, it taught me how to, form those relationships and get to know people and, take care of people that I know and my friends. And I really, like I said, learned a lot from my grandmother, as well as my mother and father, who were very social in their lives and are hard workers. And so coming from a small area and not knowing anyone, I knew that, if I wanted to have a good college career and if I wanted to stay up here, I would have to meet a lot of good people. And, they're not just going to come to you. That's what my mom always said. So, you have to go out and kind of seek what you want to do. So if, we've got over 200 plus clubs or organizations, and having that opportunity to join one of those is really important. But you've got to do a little more than that. You've got to go out. You've got to go to the events, that SGA puts on or TAB puts on. So you've got to go and get involved and get engaged. And Tennessee Tech gives students so many wonderful opportunities to do that. But sometimes the students may think, well, I'm from a small. This is what I thought. I'm from a small town. I don't know anyone up here. I'm not from this area, or, I came from Greenfield and didn't do good in high school, graduated 54 people. So, I was really actually intimidated from, about college and the whole college scene, because, when you're in high school, you hear stories all the time about, things. And so I think motivation as well. I got a lot of motivation from my parents and my grandparents, but also my mom and dad, always told me too, if I didn't do well or I got in trouble up here, they would bring me home, and I would have to either drive a truck with my dad. He used to own a trucking company through FedEx, or I'd have to go somewhere around that area. So I knew I never really wanted to go back during my 4 years there, and I wanted to stay up here. So that was always great motivation. But just having that support from a small town, like, my church back home, people that I went to school with, my friends and family, that's what really helped me and really helped, me get involved and engage, that encouragement and that excitement when, I would, was an SGA or student or being an SOA or, on the board. Like, it was always, great motivation, and it was nice to see people encourage me and get excited about things that I was getting involved with. So, it was, I consider it a blessing, honestly, that I came from a small town, because it helped me in so many aspects. And Kester, and well as Aaron too, you all know this, that, it's just something different about a small rural area, that you just, the feeling and the encouragement, and, it's hard at times to move away, especially when you're close with your family and friends, and I lived in Greenfield for 18 years, and that's all I ever knew. And you've got to just take a leap of faith and go and do it. And I tell students, if you do it, there will be hard times and there will be good times, but when you look back, you'll be glad that you did do it. Just because when you move away, and you're on your own, like I barely knew how to wash clothes when I moved away. And so I learned so many great life lessons. I learned time management, how to schedule my time correctly. Like, it was just a lot that you learn, not just at a university, but just in life in general. And I am so very thankful for that. But coming from a rural area was a good thing. And it's helped me out a lot in my future. And so I really appreciate that.
I was going to kind of echo Mason a bit. He was talking about some of those character traits, I guess we could call them, that you developed from from growing up in a rural area. And I go back to my roots with showing cattle too. And there's probably some of the viewers are probably going to like take bets on how many times Aaron says showing cattle by the end of this. But
they'll probably
honestly,
take
you know,
how many times I ramble. So it's
yeah, a lot of betting people in the audience. But you know, going back to showing cattle and some of the things that was always etched into my brain and into, you know, some of the character traits that I was developing through that was learning responsibility, that I was literally taking care of live animals. You know, I was getting up before school, I was feeding them. Whenever I got back from school, I had responsibility, and that taught me a lot. They didn't always go the way that you would plan on a farm. I think that's the people always talk about how everything's ever changing, or you'll have that one cow that's out, or a tree has fell, that adaptability that we have to develop. You know, growing up on a farm that I developed from growing up on a farm. There it is. Has really helped me. Even now, I mean, I don't want to talk about the pandemic, but you know, like thinking about adaptability. I mean, things like that were that built into my character from a young age. Growing up on the farm or in a rural community has helped me to be more adaptable when things have drastically changed over the last couple of months. And then Kester, to your question too, like, you know, growing up from a rural area has 100% shaped probably how my career will be and my career aspirations. And I remember growing up that one thing that we always knew, you know, like farmers and ranchers are really good at working hard and developing products for consumers. And rural areas have all sorts of doctors and lawyers, and you know, there's everything for anybody in a rural area. But one of the things that seems to be a trend in a lot of our rural areas is that people will grow up and then immediately want to leave because there's some sort of stigma in a rural area that that's not where they need to be, or they can't accomplish their goals if they're living in a town like Madisonville that has 45,000 or 4,500 rather people in it. And there's a stigma that sometimes will stay with rural areas, and that is where I kind of found more of a passion for agriculture communications or rural development and seeking to bring those rural areas that are truly the heartbeat of America, that as people usually call them, and where everything actually happens, where the food is grown, the people are the best in my opinion, and the food is the best in my opinion, and just putting those areas in the spotlight. And then, you know, a lot of times they don't get the credit that they deserve, and that's kind of shaped my goals as going into my career with that.
Well, yeah, I guess this is going to be an echo time because I want to echo off what he said about rural areas. You know, I did move away from my hometown, and, you know, would never be opposed to going back. My parents still live there, and I would, you know, immediately move back if I had to for my parents. But, you know, one thing that encouraged me was hard work. But now that I'm in my role as an admissions counselor, I have been assigned West Tennessee, and so it's awesome getting to go back to you know, schools that I was rivals with in high school. That now that, like, you know, Henry County or you know, other schools, it's cool to, you know, get to work with all of them now on, you know, just the same level. But one thing that I am very passionate about now, I've always been passionate about, is you know, these students that are in rural areas that may not have the resources to move away to college or go to college. And you know, I've always thought, you know, there were people I graduated with that were way smarter than me, that would have done way better in college than I did, but didn't really have the resources or the encouragement to move away or go to college. And, you know, I was lucky enough to have, you know, great parents and support system. So now it's kind of my mission to get those students in rural areas, if it's West Tennessee, you know, Middle, East, wherever they may be, and, you know, find ways for them to further their education, whether it, you know, be at a vocational school or a community college or a university. We obviously want them at Tennessee Tech, but what is best for them. And that's something that I've really, you know, when I have visited all my schools in West Tennessee, I you know, have Shelby County as well. And, you know, I get to see a lot. And that's one thing that, you know, I've really kind of tried to focus on are those students that may not think that they're smart enough to come here, or they may not have money to come here, or the support, or the means to come here. And so I can connect with them in a way, though, that I have good parents and a good support system, but I do understand what it's like coming from a rural area and like I said, taking that leap of faith to come to a university, wherever it may be, or college. And so that's something that I'm really appreciative about, and know that it's nice that I can connect with those students on that level, being from a rural area. So it plays a big role. It played a big role in my undergrad, experiences and career, and now it's playing a role in my career. And so coming from a rural area is a great thing. And very happy about it and pleased with being from a rural area. And so that's just something now that I see, is I can always relate something back to where I was born and raised, and that's really nice to be able to do.
I think, Mason, too, you brought up a good point about some of those students that you're catering to when you're going to recruit them to come to Tennessee Tech. And one of the reasons why I came to Tech is because it felt a lot like home. When you step onto this campus, it seems small. The people are friendly. The faculty and staff are 100% ready to help. And the School of Agriculture, in particular, really markets themselves as a small family-like atmosphere. And I think they achieve that as well. But you were talking about having to go into these schools where, in these rural areas where people might think that they don't have the resources to come to college, or maybe they think that they don't have the talents or the traits to make it in the real world, with quotes. And, that's where some of my passion with like the 4-H organization comes in, is that 4-H, specifically tries to target students from all aspects of life and all areas, and trying to bring out that there's opportunity for all, and that there's all sorts of talent, no matter your geographical location or your socioeconomical status. Like that, those things shouldn't define who you are, nor hold you back from achieving your dreams. And that's why I feel really passionate about the 4-H organization. I actually currently work for the Tennessee 4-H Foundation, which is the not-for-profit partner that funds the Tennessee 4-H organization. I do some communication work for them, and just seeing that. I think that people are more apt, even to, if they've come from a rural area, they're more apt to donate back to an organization that caters to rural areas, and that just goes to show how generous people are in this area, and how grateful I am to live in Tennessee. And hopefully, we've not steered too far away from your question, Kester. But.
And that's totally okay. I'm gonna say this for those in the audience, we're gonna be moving into our Q&A really soon. So if you have any questions, please think of them now. But definitely, I know I come from a town called Paris, so as Mason says, which is like about an hour west of Clarksville, 10,000 people, and I could definitely tell you. It's very different, coming from a rural area, but, being here. And I'm very interested to hear from both of y'all, since Cookeville caters, the service region for Tennessee Tech is, the Upper Cumberland, one of the most rural and, economically distressed regions of the state. How is it, what do you feel? I'm trying to word it right, but especially with your roles as working with students, as student government leaders, how has that been different, as compared if you were to been in a more school, a more urban school, in Knoxville or Chattanooga or Memphis? How is being here in Cookeville, with a very big rural population, how is that serving those students? How has that felt for y'all?
I certainly don't think that that it would be right to say that we're at any type of disadvantage or anything like that compared to a university in an urban area. But I feel like we might almost have an advantage of sorts. I know as I can talk to more of the learning opportunities that we have in the School of Agriculture with the farm that's just right down the road, and the greenhouses, and the students that get to have this hands-on experience in these rural areas. Things like the Rural Reimagined Club and the Grand Challenge, where students are coming up with innovative ideas on how to I guess reimagine. I don't want to take away the tagline you all use. I don't know it off the top of my head, but reimagining how how we can do things in rural areas. And I think it's super important that we have people that come from those areas and understand the lifestyles of the people that live there and what it's like growing up in a town with only one or two stoplights, like Mason said. Really brings in that creativity and a good perspective whenever they're thinking about the things that they're doing academically and coming up with research projects and service projects. And with some of the students that I work with, I think that it certainly shows that being in this area, being in Upper Cumberland, I think specifically provides a little bit more opportunities that we might have, and if I would have opted to go to a university that was in a different location.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Being SGA president was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, because you got to represent each student at Tennessee Tech, graduate school or undergrad, no matter where you come from, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many scholarships you have, you got to represent each student to their, the full ability. And when I was president, it was I wouldn't say easy, but it was easy to represent each student that came here to Tennessee Tech because there was such a diverse group that had different interests in different areas. And so I think, like, Aaron said, Tennessee Tech is in to me, a perfect location. And, it has great leaders who I think actually are from rural areas as well. Our president and provost and, our, chief communication officer, and, people like that. And it just kind of shows you that we have a very well, run university. And so I think it just goes to show you that, when in a rural area or when you grow up or you live there, it's just something about the community. I really can't even explain it with, the help and the passion and the care for people. And that, is proven here, with President Oldham and Provost Bruce and Karen Luck and all of our leaders, but you can tell they care. They know how to take care of people in their university and lead them in the right direction. And, I think I learned so much from a rural area that I don't think I would have learned if I would have lived in a bigger city. When I moved away from college, I was the last one. So my parents were, empty nesters, as they would call it. And so, I was worried leaving them how, they would react because, we were pretty much their lives and, for so long, and we left. But, the community and our family, friends and family, have taken great care of my parents and I've not had to really worry about them. But, coming to a fairly larger town than Greenfield, I brought, a lot of, characteristics and lessons that I learned from a rural area. And, I think like Aaron's, it's been really helpful in many aspects. And, us folks from rural, areas, you just can't beat them. I'm telling you, the work ethic and the passion and just a lot of good characteristics. And Kester, this, but even, people from other towns, I knew a lot of great people from Henry County or in Paris. And so it's just the area is great and you learn a lot and it helps you, in life. And I don't even remember what your question was, but yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with you for all those points. I know that when I came into tech, you just know something's different, the moment you step onto tech. And I remember being actually I stayed on Boise State, and met people like Mason and, Pete, you might know Pete Ramsey and a lot of them. And it was like, I'm going to tech, y'all. I know I am. You can't change my mind. So that's definitely rings true for, here, especially a lot of rural students, especially. Oh, sorry. What you're saying?
To interrupt you, but just with the community, Cookeville and in the county, that's what was really impressive to me and what I really loved and made me feel very comfortable was the community and how, local businesses and our leaders are just, normal, citizens within the community have taken care of, students at Tennessee Tech and this university, and they support us. And we have, so many great, donors and alumni that do so much for this place. And, when we were hit with that devastating storm in March, it was just, I'd never seen anything like it before. It reminded me a lot of where Greenfield or Weakley County, of, all the, people coming together and helping out. And like, it was just, it really says a lot about a community that will, stop everything, no matter what's occurring, to help their, fellow citizen out in a time of need. And you just don't find that at other places, and you don't find that in many places. And so it's really nice to know that that's still very relevant and real here in Cookeville as well as Tennessee Tech.
Certainly. Well, thank you, Mason Aaron, for sharing your thoughts. So I'm going to open up to the audience. So if you have a question, feel free to, you can turn on your microphone or camera and, speak it out loud, or if you would like to just type it out and I'll read it, that will certainly works well. So I guess does anyone have any questions right now, or we'll have to wait a little bit while people are typing? So I guess I'll move on to this question then. So what are ways that students here at Tech can get involved in, serving, rural students? I know we had our first speaker series, we had, Becky Magura and Dawson Davidson talk about how you can, like with WCTE and the Fair Board and all of these great stuff in Cookeville. We had couple of weeks ago, we had Dr. Catherine Jones and Casey Garrison speak about how you can get involved in, just going, like helping out with their elementary schools or schools around the, local, in the local community. How can students at Tech, serve, like help rural communities here?
Well, the Rural Reimagined Club obviously is a very good way of doing that. I don't think it had kind of taken off when I was still an undergrad, but I wish, it would have, because it would have been very awesome and cool to be a part of that. But definitely in any aspect that you can get involved, you can, do service projects. And, I will obviously say too, student government, there's so many aspects to that, community outreach, external events, that they, have that help rural communities. And, just anything, if you can get involved, it helps, Tennessee Tech, and it helps, students from rural areas that, are here at Tech that may need some, help or encouragement. And so it's, in any aspect that you can get involved, or any club or organization. Like I said, we have 200 plus, we have tons of them. You can find a spot, I promise. And if not, you can create one, because we have that opportunity here too. That's my admissions counselor kind of speech I give to students. But, in any club or organization, they're all centered around, to, my knowledge of serving and just good things, community involvement. And so in any aspect, like, the fair, that, can partner with Tennessee Tech or whatever it may be, find what your niche is and, go and serve people to, your best ability. And that's what you really got to focus on, is that you're serving others. It's not about you. It's not about even the club as a whole. It's about helping others. And that's, a mindset that I think everybody should have when they're doing something, in student government or Rural Reimagine, or, anything that you do, is just to help others. Just because, I've had a great time in college and in life in general. And so, that's a mission of mine, is just to help people, because I've been helped so much. And like I said, I've received so much help from Tennessee Tech as well as Cookeville, and, for my future endeavors. And so it's just nice to help others when you receive help. So just any club organization, in admissions, we have you can be a tour guide, and you give tours to potential students. You're actually the first person some of them see, and you can make a real impact on them, and in their decision if they come to Tech or any university. And so, there's just so many good opportunities here at Tennessee Tech that you can get involved that will, change your life for the best. So.
Just want to echo what Mason was saying about getting involved with clubs and organizations on campus. Of course, Rural Reimagined is a great one. Like you said, there's over 200 that students can get involved with. Also, I was going to highlight Miss Michelle Huddleston down in the University Service Center. She does an awesome job of coordinating service projects that are university-wide. She helps out any time that I've went to her for advice or help with something that maybe SGA could do, or another organization that I'm a part of could get involved with some sort of service event. She's always been extremely helpful. I think there's this common misconception that you don't have to be, you don't have to achieve those service hours for you to go and do a service project. You can go in anytime and ask her what to get involved with. The food pantry on campus, the Eco Eagles has opportunities for service projects, things of that nature. And then also, I just kind of wanted to direct people back to their hometowns as well. We're about to go back for Christmas break. Seek out opportunities in your hometown about maybe helping out the local church. And Operation Christmas Child is up and running. Go pack a couple boxes or go shop around for some things of that nature. I had a senator last night. We had an SGA meeting last night. Had a senator stand up and encourage students to go back and serve as substitute teachers in their local school systems. We're in a national substitute teacher shortage and crisis right now, and a lot of school systems are having to shut down. So that's even another option that students can get involved with. And I think that senator's mindset and having, being creative about what you can do with your time when you're home is something that a lot of students at Tech share. And so make sure that you're giving back and turning around to seeing those people that are behind you in line, or even those that are younger than you, that you can help out and mentor and steward into some of the same pathways that you've walked.
That I didn't really know what I wanted to do or how I wanted to get involved, but it allowed me to get involved. And, I ended up on the, student trustee on the Board of Trustees. So, I really don't think, being from a rural area hinders you in any aspects or at all. I think, honestly, in ways it helps you. But like I said, at Tennessee Tech, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you can work hard, and you want to serve others, there's definitely opportunities out there for you. Like Aaron said, there's different, for opportunities for 4-H. Like he said, our, the food pantry and other aspects like that. If you're interested, there's opportunity out there, and I would, be more than happy to give you more information about those clubs and organizations. But, just keep going, don't stop, and don't let you being from a rural area hinder you or hold you back. And so be encouraged by that, and know that you have skills from being from a rural area that a lot of other people don't. And so use those skills and those abilities to get involved, and you just got to dig your heels in and go. And that's what really helped me, was just find that outlet, find what you're interested in, and just commit as much time as you can to it, and get involved, and and have fun and enjoy it. So.
And Sarah, I think you bring up a good point as well, that coming from a smaller area, and even being in trying to make that transition to maybe a larger area. I mean, Cookeville is not the smallest city in Tennessee by any means. I've even got a friend that's a sophomore now that still uses a GPS to get around every now and then, just because that's just how things are. It can be a transition, but I do think that the community involvement that me and Mason have talked about a lot is sign in almost every business's window or in the yard, and it becomes more of just a small town with more buildings is what Cookeville develops into. But best of luck to you, and glad you transferred to Tech.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for your question, and thank you both for your answers. I know it's almost 4 o'clock, but could you both share your experiences working in student government, and Mason with you as a student trustee, since I know since we may have students watching this later on, they may, I know y'all were trying to get me to do SGA just before this meeting. So could y'all just share your experiences being, the executive officers and in your high up roles?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. I think being SGA president, as Mason said earlier, has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had thus far. Just about halfway into my term right now, and just every day getting to work with the students. And we just finished up the Mr. and Mrs. Tennessee Tech elections. The Student Government Association actually administers those. Mason will probably tell you real quick that he was Mr. Tennessee Tech a couple years ago, and I saw it in his eyes. He was ready to claim that.
I'm old now, man. It was like 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been 3 years ago.
Yeah, but we just finished those up, and like working with all those candidates, to get all their things in and through that election process and answering their questions, and it's just a phenomenal groups of students that I get to work with. The group of students that we have serving in leadership capacities in SGA are awesome. They're all super dedicated to Tennessee Tech. They're super interested in how they can make things better for students on Tech's campus. And this year we've been out on the plaza every Tuesday and Thursday for 4 hours from 10 to 2, 8 hours a week out there on the plaza, just to be out there, talk to the students that we serve. And so be sure to stop by and talk to those senators about maybe any ideas that you have. You can always shoot us a concern or a comment or something on Instagram or on our website as well. But we're here to serve the students, and Jason knows this wouldn't even exist, without the students in the first place, of course. And this has been interesting times as well, too, because a lot of the decisions, which I'm thankful for at Tech, have been driven by student opinion and driven by student feedback on some of the things that they've done in response to the pandemic. And I know that Kester served on a task force for the coronavirus task forces this past summer. I served on a number of those as well, just giving input of trying to bring that student perspective to some of those committees and task forces. And that's a lot of what SGA does. All of our senators are placed on a university committee. We get those students to go and voice student opinion and listen to their administrators, to their ideas, pitch student ideas. And something that's really unique about Tech, when I talk to some of my counterparts at other universities, they're not as involved with the administration on campus as we are. And it's almost like an open door policy to a lot of the administrators on campus, and I really appreciate that from my role, that I can ask for help anytime that I need it. And I'm super glad that I'm at Tech. Super glad that I get to serve such a great student body. I'm sure Mason is itching to tell you about his role as student trustee as well. So.
Well, and I want to commend Aaron and his team because of all of the things that have occurred this year with the pandemic, and that they're still going strong and having meetings and doing events, and that's amazing, and that means a lot to old folks like me that have served previously. It's nice to see that there's still hard workers in that position that are making sure students have things going on and resources like that. And so I commend him for that, because it's already a stressful job, but add a pandemic to it, I can't even imagine. So commend you for that. But my time as being student government president and student trustee was amazing, and honestly something I never thought I would even be a part of. But being president, it allowed me to meet tons of students from all walks of life, from so many different areas, and it also allowed me to meet a lot of wonderful admin and faculty. And like Aaron said, this is something that I always tell students about is, if there's a decision made on campus, more than likely there's been a student, input on that decision, and they, actually listen to students. And, I don't know of many other universities that allow students to, join, task force or, academic committees and stuff like that. But Tennessee Tech, they allow that, and they genuinely do listen to students, and I can attest for that. And so that means so much, especially to students as well as parents and stuff. And so that's what's amazing and something that I really enjoy. But also just supporting and helping each student. It's when you think of student government, you think of political parties and stuff like that. And thankfully, ours are not set up like that at Tech, because we do support students of, like I said, all walks of life. And that was the best part of that, is knowing that you can support people that are different than you, and people that are similar and have different interests. And so that's a great part. But also, being on the board with so many intelligent people, I mean, people that I will never be as smart as, it was very cool. There was astronaut and Radonna Rose and a lot of amazing Board of Trustee members. We have a very, very strong board that definitely puts students first and what's best for students. And I got to see that firsthand, and that means a lot to students like me. But just being able to help students and know that some of the decisions you make and some of the things that we do affect students, and that's good. And sometimes it's hard in ways because of decisions you have to make. But I had a lot of good support and a lot of help. Like I said, when I was SGA, Dean Williams and Jared Keaton and Precious and definitely Susan Henry helped me out so much. But also when I was on the board, there was Kay Carpenter, who's retired, and so many wonderful people. The president and all of his team helped me out tremendously, and they taught me a lot of wonderful work ethic as well as life lessons. And so you just learn a lot, and you get to participate in a lot, and that's really, really nice. And it's always for a good purpose, and that's what it was good to know that you're doing something for other people, and you always wanted to do that in the best way possible. So there was a lot of good things about serving in those positions, and those are just a few, but it was an honor for sure.
That is awesome. Thank you, Mason and Aaron, for sharing that. I know if y'all are interested in SGA, elections are going to be next semester. Is that right, Aaron?
Yes, they will be in the spring. That's right.
Yes. So if any students are watching this are interested, please be on the lookout for that, and do consider running as an SGA senator if you're not already a part of it. So I know we're running short on time. So the last kind of question I have is, what is a quick takeaway that you want students who are watching this either now or later to just take home with them? Like, what are those key takeaways that you can think of?
I always like to end things with this. This is something that my mom always told me, is to keep on going and to never stop. And I think that is important in any aspect of life, not just college, but life in general, because you never know what that next step may lead to. And so I would just tell students to keep going, don't ever give up. I know a lot of things are uncertain, especially in today's society and things that are occurring. But stay motivated, find motivation, and just stick with it and keep going. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate a lot of the conversation we had when we were answering Sarah's question. It's like, no matter where you came from or who you are, who your parents are, what they do, what you do, that there's nothing that you can't achieve. Don't let any socioeconomical or geographical setback that you may think is a setback hold you back from achieving your goals. Chances are, if you're looking at it as adversity, it's actually shaped you into who you are today, and it's going to help you and mold you into your career. And there are people all across this campus, students, faculty, staff, administrators that are here to help you. They're here to see you succeed. They want to see you succeed. Seek those relationships out. Get involved with student organizations. Get involved with things like SGA and the Rural Reimagined Club and admissions ambassador and things of that nature, just to feel more connected to the community, more connected to the university, and there's nothing that'll hold you back. So go for it.
Thank you both for your wonderful advice, and thank you all for watching this amazing Rural Journey Speaker Series session with Mason Hilliard and Aaron Lay. I know I definitely had a great time listening to both your stories and especially relating So especially relating since I'm from a rural area as well. So thank you all for watching this. Just some quick, news and updates. This is our last speaker series session for the semester, but we are going to continue this series in the spring. So please be on the lookout at www.tntech.edu/grand challenge. /students. There's a students page, but you can access it from the Grand Challenge website, where we'll have a calendar of dates for the Rural Reimagined Club, meetings, events, etc. Be sure to follow us at TNTech RRC for the Rural Reimagined Club, and at TNTech Rural Reimagined for all of your updates and stories about what Tennessee Tech students, faculty, and staff and administration are doing to help serve our rural areas. We also have our video from our previous talk with Casey Garrison and Dr. Catherine Jones, two administrators, assistant principals here in Cookeville, about STEAM education, posted on the Rural Reimagined YouTube channel. So please watch that if you missed it. And the Rural Reimagined Club will resume meetings next semester. So if you are not on our email list, please feel free to reach out to reach out to us on social media or email us. We're always happy to add more people to the Rural Reimagined family. Just as Tech is a big, huge community and family, as Aaron and Mason have echoed many times throughout the talk. So thank you all for coming. And for the students right now, good luck on all your finals and getting through, have a happy Thanksgiving, and, you can get through dead week and finals week for sure. So
thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Kester. It's been an honor. Thanks, Aaron. It was good talking to everybody. Yeah, good luck on finals. If you need me, I'm in Jerry Whitson.
For sure. Well, thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you all at a future Rural Journeys event or Rural Reimagined event.